Welcome to Drinks in the Library, the only library where drinks aren't just allowed, they are required. I'm your librarian host, Gigi Howard, and each episode I'll be interviewing a guest about a much-loved book that we will be pairing with a drink for you to enjoy along with us or consider for your next book club meetup. As always, stay curious and support your local library. Hello, Libration Nation. I am thrilled to welcome Sarah Glenn Marsh to this week's episode as we uncover the wonders of the book The Last Ranger by Peter Heller. It's a thrilling exploration of nature's beauty in Yellowstone National Park and human empathy. This book will keep you on the edge of your seat, and we have paired it with a citrusy and daring Lone Ranger cocktail, which is tequila, lemon, and a hint of rosé, capturing the essence of adventure. Sarah Glenn Marsh has been an avid fantasy reader since the day her dad handed her a copy of The Hobbit and promised it would change her life. She believes that we all deserve happy endings and is an author of books for everyone, including many young adult, middle grade, and picture book titles. She lives in Richmond, Virginia with her family, including one sweet daughter, one slightly dull sword, and the chaos of many pets, like a turtle named Muffin, who she definitely did not bring back from any haunted swamp. We Could Be Anti-Heroes is her first adult novel, and it will be coming out spring 2026, and you'll hear more about it in the episode as well. Just before we get started, if you're loving Drinks in the Library, can you do me a favor? Drop a quick review, hit us with some stars, and most importantly, tell 2 friends about it this week. Sharing is caring, and it really helps us grow and keeps the good times rolling. All right, let's get to it. The Last Ranger by Peter Heller.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're totally introducing this to me. I've sort of done a little bit of a dive into...
I love his work overall and normally don't hesitate to recommend like all of his books.
Yeah, and when, like I said, preparing for this a little bit, I was thinking, I listened to him talking about his love of nature and the experience of it. And so I get a lot of that probably comes out in The Last Ranger. What was your experience like when you first picked up this book?
Honestly, it had me from the very first scene. Can I spoil you a little bit? Can I set up the first scene? Is that okay?
Let's do that.
That's allowed? So when you go into The Last Ranger, you are meeting a Yellowstone park ranger on a very rough night. So he is confronting a couple who has just had a vehicle accident, driving under the influence, and they have hit a bison, and they lie about it. And they lie about the circumstances. They make it sound as if they're blameless and as if they were going to go get help for the animal when they were not. He goes out to examine the scene and he sees that they were in fact planning to drive away and leave the animal. And his reaction is anger, just unbridled. His name is Wren Hopper, the park ranger. Wren's reaction is intense anger towards these people and toward all of the people who come into Yellowstone and use these animals for their Instagram pictures for gratification. And that was what really had me in that first scene. It was Wren's love and respect of nature and being able to identify with that anger. I am incredibly protective of my creatures and also of wild creatures, and it is very easy for me to feel empathy with them and to connect with them as opposed to with people sometimes.
Okay.
So since it's easier for me to form connections with animals, Wren is the same way. And you really get that from that first scene. And so when his gut reaction is to be blisteringly angry at these people, I felt it so much. And I felt like an instant connection with this character because of his deep love and respect for nature.
Okay. So that like immediately you're like... Wren and I are the same.
I was ready to follow him anywhere after that opening scene.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm guessing the bison didn't turn out okay.
Nope.
Oh.
Nope.
I'm sorry.
He humanely puts the bison down.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is going into that book, if you're sensitive to animal death, there is some wild animal death that is part of the plot.
Okay.
So that would be important to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just thinking a little bit about, have you been to Yellowstone? Thinking about like the nature, all of these things.
So I've been to some incredibly beautiful national parks. I've been to some beautiful parks all over the world, but I have never had the pleasure of going to Yellowstone.
Okay.
And after reading this book, is at the top of my list.
Yes.
Believe it, for
Are you
sure.
going to go this year?
I hope to. Maybe next year, because what I'd really like to do is wait until my daughter is old enough to do some small hikes with me. I love to hike. I have some fantastic hiking boots that don't see enough use, and I think it would be really fun to share the experience with her because she seems to have inherited my love of nature.
Okay, that's awesome.
We are outdoors people.
Yeah.
I struggle with winter because I want to be outside.
Yeah, we're almost there. Almost. We just have to get through this one, catastrophic snowstorm that's coming.
That's what I hear, and it makes me all kinds of twitchy. But
yeah. Just a little bit more. So talking about like Ren, so he's a park ranger, and who is he besides of his love of animals? Like, who is Ren?
So that's one of the wonderful things about the book. You actually get to know him on a really deep level because as you're going through the story, it's taking you through. He flashes back to a lot of his life experiences. And so it takes you through his life and helps you to understand how he got to be someone who, say, more easily sympathizes with animals as opposed to people, and who, like, why he stands up for the animals. There are some really, I don't want to necessarily spoil them all, but we get to see all of the core experiences that have shaped him. For instance, the very unexpected and young death of his wife features in the novel. And then we also see his friendships with the people in the town. I think one of the things that the book does really well is even the people who are the antagonists have so much depth. And once you get to know them and you actually get to understand their motivation, they're just people too. And you, even if you don't like them, even if you disagree with what they're doing, it is so very obvious that they are so very human and doing their best too. And I think that was another thing where I knew it was going to be a book that kind of stuck with me and that I wanted to keep revisiting, is because of how much depth there is to every character. But with Ren, we do go into some very big life events that happen to him. And so we'll flash back to those and explore through them.
Okay. Yeah. And he also, I think his friend is Hilly. Is the wolf conservationist?
She's a wolf biologist.
A wolf biologist.
Yep.
Got it.
And so she is studying the Junction Butte pack, which is the wolf pack in Yellowstone. So Hilly is there to study those wolves, and she, much like Ren, they get along very well at the beginning of the book. She's there studying the wolves, and she really views them, she calls them her wolves, is what I want to say. She calls it her pack. They're her wolves. So when we meet her, we're already aware of the problem going on. Someone's killing her wolves in the park.
Okay.
And taking pictures of the kills and texting them to her.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's messed up. I mean, that's horrible. It's not just messed up. It's horrible.
So she is, but rather than feeling powerless, or rather than, I don't know, just reporting it, as we all know that sometimes when we report things, action doesn't get taken in the way that we would like.
Yeah.
So Hilly is very much a gal after my own heart who takes matters into her own hands and takes action herself. Because her whole thing is, and this is true with Greyhound Rescue, we always talk about speaking for those who have no voice. So she's the voice for those wolves. She knows that nobody else will do it. She sets out to find the person who is responsible for all this, and not only to find them, but to punish them.
Okay.
Her way.
Texas. I always think of that Texas justice.
So right. And that's very much kind of the feel, is this like wild, it's like the Wild West of the national park. It's like everyone is operating on their own unique code of ethics and their own sense of justice. But that becomes quite explosive when we have this antagonist, and we have Ren, who he ends up obviously in between the two parties. He wants to protect Hilly, but he is also bound into his job and the constraints of doing things within the law and trying to find a solution that protects both her and the wolves, as well as doing his job and not just outright allowing her to kill someone.
Yeah, I know. It's a tough thing. Going back to the wolves part, like that has been a theme. Have you read that book, Once There Were Wolves?
Yes, that is a beautiful book. I'd recommend that also.
Yeah, and that's a similar thing of they're trying to reintroduce the wolves into the population, and there's a group of people that don't want that to happen. It seems like this is similar happening in this.
This is very, I would say it is pretty similar. And just, it's, this person is definitely poaching and is definitely doing wrong. The motivations are more complex and a little more moving than are initially presented. And I love the ways that the book continued the whole way through to catch me off guard and to show depth in absolutely everyone. And when I say everyone, I even mean the animals and the landscape. Because, like, different genre, but I write fantasy and I read a lot of fantasy, and nothing puts me off faster than not giving me details about the landscape, especially when you're transported to another world or Yellowstone Park.
Yeah.
I think that Peter Heller does an incredible job with telling you exactly what the birds sound like in the morning when they're calling versus in the evening. The way that the wind blows down the grass and what kind of flowers it is blowing when it moves down.
Yeah.
What kind of rocks make up the riverbed. What they look like in certain lighting. And it's that level of, like, minute detail that really... I've been to Yellowstone without having to go because of this book. That level of detail really places you in the moment or in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that Peter, his descriptions of nature, I would go so far to say are almost Tolkien-esque. So, are you familiar with Tolkien?
Yeah.
So meaning that they are sometimes indulgently long, which I think goes back to his, like, time as a travel and nature writer. So he really entrenches you in the world and is very capable, and his descriptions of the landscape are incredibly beautiful.
Yeah. I was listening to him talk about his writing, and he says he starts everything with the first sentence, and it just continues from there. I guess he started off as a poet.
Okay.
Is his original, that's where he started writing. So everything that informs his novels now.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably, you're talking about how amazing the writing style is, and it sounds like
really beautiful.
It's really intentional too.
And I think it also speaks to his leanings, with that kind of... He wrote a book, it's nonfiction, I believe it's memoir, double check me, but it's called Kook, and it's about surfing.
Oh.
And that was one of his earlier projects. And I think he definitely honed those skills of nature writing first, and then here in The Last Ranger, he's giving you essentially a thriller in Yellowstone National Park. Okay. And the way that his descriptions of the landscape interplay with the tension between the human and animal characters is really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about your love of animals, because you mentioned the Greyhound Rescue a little bit, and I was like, you're my third Greyhound aficionado.
Yes.
Yeah. So how long have you loved animals, like, all your life? Like, what's that like?
I have loved animals definitely all of my life. So from the time I was a very little girl, I knew I wanted a dog. And actually how I got my start writing was I was trying to convince my parents to get me a dog. I started writing books about me and my dog that didn't exist yet. Aww. And by my 6th birthday, I had the dog I wanted, but I wanted more animals than my mother wanted to have in her house. One dog was asking a lot of my mother.
Oh, gosh.
I did get in trouble once for bringing some cups of dead baby turtles inside. I didn't really realize they were dead, and I was trying to give them a bath. I actually used my mom's toothbrush, and I still remember the screams. Yeah.
Empathizing with your mom.
That's what it is. But I've just always been a nature lover. I've always been that kid that got in trouble for climbing too high in the trees. And as I got older, the first chance I got, the first thing I did was rescue some dogs. Now, they were Italian Greyhounds.
Okay.
So they're
smaller, right?
They are only about, they look like toy greyhounds. They're not, they're their own breed, but they're about 10 to 15 pounds. Okay. They're very hard to housebreak. Mine were never housebroken.
Okay.
They had come from a puppy mill. They were in there for 7 years, and they had never touched grass, as the kids like to say. And but they really hadn't. And so we had to do a lot of surgeries to help them get healthy. They ended up surpassing the life expectancies that were given them because they had diseases from how they were bred.
Yeah.
They lived to be 15. They were called Romeo and Juliet. And they were my introduction to animal rescue. So they were oh my goodness, they were so scared. I couldn't touch them. I had to lay puppy pads in my bathroom and just let them pee.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I couldn't pick them up or touch them. One day, we had this big storm come through Richmond. And I was on the couch, and I felt something hit me. And then something else hit me. And I looked down, and both of them were in my lap, clinging to me for dear life. And I said, oh, hello. And from then on, they sat with me every day, and they were the best. And from there, I got involved in greyhound rescue. I have had, my math is not mathing, but 8 greyhounds. So 8 or 9.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've had quite a fair number of greyhounds. We currently have 4 that are alive and with us, and I have a turtle and 3 birds.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So we have a very full house.
I have to tell you this story because you were reminding me so much of one of my best friends. Her name is Jamie. She loves animals, like obsessed. And so one day she's driving and she has a little Honda Accord.
I used to own one of those too. That's funny.
Yeah, and a hawk flies into her windshield. And you probably would do this thing too, but I wouldn't. But so Jamie, I always laugh. She stopped the car, and she got out, and she thought the hawk was dead, or
oh my gosh,
it was stunned.
Oh no, yeah.
So she wraps it in a towel. She's like,
I
would. Okay, you would do this too.
Without hesitation. Without hesitation.
She's taking the hawk to the emergency vet.
Oh.
And then all of a sudden she looks in her rearview mirror, and the hawk is up.
Oh my gosh.
So I just always imagine her being like, what do I do?
That is wild.
Yeah. So anyway, I think she ended up getting it to the emergency vet, but I just I've
got to show you now. Of course, this is a podcast, so it's not exactly the place for show and tell. But this is my red-tailed hawk right here.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Love
so
that.
when I go back to Ireland, which I usually try to go over once a year, we do a lot of falconry. Okay. So that's another of my that fuels my love of nature and wild things. We do a lot of falconry. I think my favorite bird I've gotten to fly is probably a lanner falcon or a golden eagle.
Oh, wow.
But Harris hawks are really the most common thing you would fly. And Harris hawks are, I don't know, I view them as the dog of the hawk world. They are to touch and work with, and they want to please you. I think maybe a falconer would disagree with me, but I think they have a lot of personality, and I think they're easy to recall. And of course, it's just a hobby for us, but it's a great way to get out and walk and take a walk on the wild side and interact with these incredible predators up close. Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, I would never, I'm very impressed.
It does hurt, by the way, when they close on your arm above the glove. You do want them on the glove. Those big gloves are there for a reason. Yeah. I've had them close above the glove. Oh, yeah. They can't release for a while. It's part of how their claws work. Their talons. Yeah, that hurts a lot. But I also ride horses, so that's another thing I like to. Yeah, I'm anything I can do to be involved with animals. Okay. I assisted a game warden in Ireland once. I got to work with a pair of Asian rhinos. They were both boys. That was practicing.
In Ireland?
Yes.
Okay.
So that was at Photo Wildlife Park.
Okay.
They have a program where you can assist a warden for the day, and it was so much fun. Yeah. Anything I can do to get up close to my favorite animals. I really feel like, and it's how Peter Heller, through his work, suggests one move through the world is when you respect nature, when you respect animals, when you're out in their world, I think you are afforded some measure of respect in return.
Okay. So it's a karmic type thing.
I think so. I think animals, just like people, can sense, we'll go with modern lingo, sense the vibes.
Yeah.
For instance, the first time I ever rode a horse, I got on this horse that I was so nervous. Oh, the horse picked up on it. And she responded by galloping. Just flat out running. Because she was so scared of me, which then in turn made me more scared of her. And it was terrible. Animals, they pick up on your confidence and your emotions. And so it is important, the things you project when you're in their world and to show them respect. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very impressed. You're inspiring me to try to be. You were like, now if you do falconry, and I'm like, Sarah, I don't know if that's going to happen for me.
Honestly, it's as long as you're not afraid of the bird coming back to you, you have to trust that they're going to hit your glove.
Okay.
But they do. More often than not, they want to hit your glove.
Okay.
They want to come to the prey that you've got.
Going back and say you were just talking about vibes and going back to the book, like what's the vibe of the story? You mentioned, is it a thriller mystery? What would you say about that?
So I would say it's a thriller.
Okay.
Because mystery, I feel like we learn or we suspect pretty early on who the poacher is.
Okay.
But the danger is present and the tension continues to rise the entire time. I would say it's a thriller.
Okay.
There is a mystery element. So Wren, at the same time as he is dealing with the poacher, separately has been receiving these messages that have been tucked into the windshield of his truck. One of them is a picture, you know the game Hangman, where you draw out the little guy?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a picture of a hanging man, and underneath his last name, Hopper, is spelled out. So he's getting these sort of like threatening messages, and there is a mystery element of trying to figure out who's doing this and what their motivation is, while at the same time trying to de-escalate the tension and discourage. So the man, again, I don't want to spoil, but discourage this man from poaching.
Yes. You think even just doing like a review of the book, they mention the antagonist, his name is Les.
Oh, perfect.
Les.
Okay. Les Ingram. Yes.
Yeah.
So Les, and you see him in the very beginning, and Wren knows it must be him. He's running a black bear. He's running a baby black bear. He is after it with his rifle. So that's fairly early on. Yeah, his name is Edgar, and he is so cute. Edgar, he's an overweight, young black bear, and he's known in the park, in the book, for not harassing tourists. Just he likes to eat, and he likes to just amble around on the hiking trails, because those are trails that bears can use also. It's a way to move through the park. Here's this little rotund baby black bear, and here's this absolute beast of a man who has hunting dogs and a gun, trying to kill this beloved. So Edgar gets posted a lot on the park's Instagram, and people take pictures of him, and he's like a favorite. Yeah. Trying to kill Edgar.
Les, what is going on?
For most of the book, we meet Les's wife as well, and oh boy. We sort of have suspicions of what's going on, and heartbreakingly, for most of the book, we think he's probably abusing his wife. So she's got bruises, or things seem to be wrong with her. That's not the case. Again, that's the wonderful thing with this book. Nothing's what it seems. Everybody's motivations cut a bit deeper. Yeah. Actually, Les has a really compelling backstory all his own that's deeply moving. Every bit of this book, it really strikes at some core emotions and does so very effectively.
Yeah. You're definitely selling me on it, I guess is what I was going to say.
Because it's at the same time that it's a love story to the park, to nature, and to the animals, it's a love story about people too. Yeah. It is. It's a love story about human nature and how all of us are connected, animal, human. And one of the things I also found really poignant, the book taught me a lot about the necessity of certain creatures in the ecosystem. It made me appreciate wolves a whole lot more. Yeah. Because Hilly, who's the wolf biologist, she tells you about what happens when we take wolves out of the ecosystem. And I didn't realize, as just a layperson, I just write books, I didn't realize that when you take the wolves out of the ecosystem, it not only affects other animal life, but it affects plant life and insect life, and it actually alters the landscape itself. You pull them out, and you ruin everything. All these other dominoes fall to the point that, like, the meanders of the rivers are going to change. It's things you wouldn't think about. There are no wolves, so now our river looks like this. Right. Or there are no wolves, now our vegetation looks like this. We're all connected. I think this book is just such a good reminder that we can't pull out one piece because they're all necessary in their way, even though they have pros and cons.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Thank you for bringing that, because that was like a question I had, and especially like thinking about what I know about the Once There Were Wolves books. I was like, this is a thing that is happening that we all need to be aware of when you take them out of the environment too.
Yeah, I would say if anyone likes one of those books, the other is a great follow-up.
These are good read-alikes.
Yes, they're good read-alikes, yes.
And I want to talk about your writing in just a second. There's one other thing I wanted to ask about it seems like a theme of the book is the tourists that come, this dumb tourists that are going into the park. So
yes.
Do you want to speak on that a little bit?
Oh my gosh. I mean, that dovetails beautifully back into what I said about, like, animals know when we walk respectfully in their home. Mm-hmm. It goes back to the respect you bring. And actually, I would say that was one of the most harrowing moments of the book, despite the poachers and all the things that are happening. Mm-hmm. One of the most harrowing moments is a tourist moment in the book. So this man and his son decide to get a selfie with a moose cub. And I mean, I just said moose, so you probably already have the idea. Very dangerous. Yeah. Mom is nearby, and Mom actually charges.
Oh my God.
And Ren, geez, he's just a salaried employee, has to make a decision. Help the kid or help the parents, and who he's going to move out of the way and how he's going to do it.
Uh-huh.
And the situation ends up okay because the moose is just warning. Puts its head down just to warn. Because it could easily have killed the parents. It doesn't.
Okay.
But Ren helps the child, of course. Spoiler.
Yeah, okay.
No child violence. The kid is okay. But I think Ren regrets having to make that choice. And more than that, is upset with, like, how it disturbed the moose and her calf. Yeah. So
who's just trying to protect. We're both moms, just trying to protect our child. I get it.
And it's the whole book. The tourists are constantly, they're antagonizing everyone. They're creating traffic problems. But I like, again, you see both sides. There's a group of tourists in the book. They call themselves the Lupistas. They are wolf watchers. They come almost every day and they set up scopes and professional photography equipment. They have their own nicknames for the wolves. They know the numbers of each of the wolves. They know about their personalities and they try to educate other tourists.
Oh.
When Hilly gets very hurt by the poacher, the Lupistas actually help Ren to locate her in time to get her to help.
Wow.
So the tourists both help and hinder, and I like that we see both examples.
Yeah. I thought that was important too, and like we've seen that, so I don't know, it's become more prominent recently, hearing these stupid, I don't want to say stupid, people making
you can say stupid.
People making poor decisions with wildlife at these parks. So I thought it was cool that the book
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and Peter Heller, I think he did with Condé Nast, he did a piece on Yellowstone. So that's sort of where he got his experience. So he saw all these things happening.
Yeah.
So anyhow, and real quick, so the drink,
yes.
So this is the last
Lone Ranger
drink,
cocktail,
and you sent it to me, and it is very good. I think
this is absolutely delicious. Now, confession, I had not had this one before, but it themed so beautifully with the book because even though it's called The Last Ranger, Ren's the Lone Ranger. He is forced into situations where he is acting maybe outside of his role, where he's constantly having to rely on his own judgment and his own moral compass. And he's constantly alone in some really dangerous situations, both with wildlife and then with tourists and with these poachers. He very much is the Lone Ranger. So when I saw this drink, I was like, oh, this name is perfect. Like this pairs so perfectly. And I'm a sucker for lemon, and I believe, is this bourbon?
No, it's tequila.
Fair enough. I don't know why I thought this was bourbon. It's delicious.
It's very good. It's just the lemon.
It's so clean and lemon. Oh my gosh.
And I thought it was a brut rosé. Then there's
rosé. That's right.
That's where that little bit of the color comes from. Yeah. Anyway, so I was like trying to find a brut rosé, which I don't know. Anyway, it was the I can't remember, the very sparkly bottles that they have now. Do you know? It's like one is gold, one is black sparkles, this is the pink sparkle. So that one is...
So pink sparkle rosé.
Pink sparkle, yeah.
But it just tastes so... what it almost reminds me of is, if I had to compare it to another cocktail, a French 75.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is one of my favorite cocktails.
I know. I love a French 75. And
I do too.
Yeah, so this one, thank you so much. But yeah, it's...
Oh, thank you. Hey.
I'm loving it. And I wanted to talk about your writing, and I have to tell you, I was looking at your books. I'm obsessed with the covers. I was like, these are so beautiful. And now that I know that you're like very into nature, that makes a lot of sense. I think was it the young adult, How to Spot a Magical Woodland
so
Creature?
this series, so the first one is called How to Spot a Fairy.
Okay, and this one's coming out soon.
And this one comes out, I think, in April. Okay. And then How to Spot a Mermaid is going to follow it up in July.
Oh, cool. But I'm going to link to these when I post it so people can see the covers, because it's like there's an owl, and is that a wolf on there? It looks like there's a wolf.
Oh, there are wolves, but they're all like magical. So they all have a little enchanted element to them. So I got to make up a lot of the folklore. I pulled from different cultures around the world. Okay. Same with the fairy book. So it's a series. It's a folklore guide for kids. I would say like ideal age for the material would be anywhere from 8 to 13. Okay. I've had a lot of 10-year-olds really vibing with it. Okay. However, I've also had adults buy it for the artwork.
Oh, cool.
This artist who illustrates them, there are a lot of full-page illustrations throughout. Oh, cool. There's spot art on every page. Mm-hmm. Absolutely gorgeous. She's somewhere in Eastern Europe, and she has quite a big following on Instagram. So cool. I'm so thrilled that we got to work with her on those. Yeah. And she did just a great job bringing it to life.
And so her name, I'm just going to give her
Lila.
a shout. Lila, and it's bullshit. It sounds...
That sounds right to me. Okay. I wasn't going to attempt, so cheers to you.
Yeah. So how long have you been writing?
So professionally, I want to say I signed with my first agent in 2014, and my debut novel was a YA novel that came out in 2016. However, and technically we haven't announced this yet, but I'm announcing it anyway. I'm at peace with it. Okay. We just recently, over the holidays, sold my debut adult novel, and I cannot wait. It's my favorite thing I've ever written.
Oh, congratulations.
I'm there. Many tears have been shed and many cocktails have been consumed since December 18th. We'll just put it that way. I couldn't be prouder. And it's like that feeling of if I have one thing that I get to say to the world in my time before I go, if I could say one thing, it's this book. Oh, okay. It's me on every page. Okay. And I've always loved writing, and I'm grateful for all the opportunities I've had with my YA, with IP. I've written for Star Wars. That was very cool. Also for Critical Role. But this book, this adult book, it's me. And I am so excited. And I found a wonderful editorial team.
Oh, great.
When we had our call, she said to me that she had pitched it in-house as Gay Lord of the Rings. And that's what it is. Okay. So there's your quick 2-second summary. And yeah, it's honestly, it's such a joy. It's such an honor. And it feels like a soul completing thing to get to tell a story.
Wow. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
When is it? Do you know when it's coming out?
I do, roughly. Okay. Spring of 2026. So next spring.
Next spring.
Next spring.
So I'm not sure. I'm curious, what is this process that, for people that are interested in writing? So where are you at with this book? What kinds of things, what is going on behind the scenes is, I guess, my question.
Okay. So, for this book specifically? Or okay. Of course, first I wrote it. Yeah. Sent it to my agent. Uh-huh. And she was like, hey, Sarah, this is really great and all, but I don't really understand why you made the POV choices you made. So it is, at its core, it takes place in another world. Did say Gay Lord of the Rings. It's in a fantasy world, but it's a romance. And typically, now that I've educated myself by reading a lot more heavily in that genre, romances oftentimes are dual POV. Okay. So you're following the two love interests. I had to go back and rewrite.
Oh, okay.
135,000 words.
Oh, no.
To be dual POV. And you know what? It is all the better for it. Because her point that she was making, it's both their stories equally. Their names are Griff and Mal, so I'll just go ahead and say their names. Okay. It's Griff's story and it's Mal's story, and they both bring so much to it. You really can't have one without the other. Originally, it was all in Griff's point of view. Okay. It's so much richer for giving them equal weight in every way. So I love the choice. Her comments resonated. I rewrote it. And then she and I did some edits together. She sent me the most beautiful email with everything she loved about it, which I saved. It's got them all listed with bullet points, which I sent it to my mother. And then, so we did that, and then we went on submission. How Caitlin, my agent, works is she's pretty open with, I can suggest names. She suggests some names. We make a list together. We send it out to those people. My editor ended up being someone who I follow on social media and was already following, who I kind of had the sense there's something about this person.
Yeah.
I'm interested in them and I would like to work with them. That ended up being my editor.
Wow.
So it kind of worked out. So I asked Caitlin to send to that person. She sent it off. And this is an interesting story. So when she received the submission, she read it and she passed.
Okay.
And I was like devastated. Like absolutely. That was a red wine night. That was a whole bottle of a Pinot and like crying into my wine. It was bad. It was devastating.
Yeah.
And I was like reading her comments. She left feedback. And I was reading her feedback and sitting with it. It was a lot of stuff that I think was personal preference, but also really solid points. And as I started to digest it, I was like, these things would make the story a lot better. Not only that, they seem very doable.
Okay.
So I revised it without knowing if she would take a revised manuscript from me. I just revised it with her comments because I felt it was the right thing to do to make the book better. Okay. In the meantime, Caitlin went to her and said, would you look at a revision? And she said, as a rule, I do not do that. When I pass, I'm done.
Okay.
But for Sarah, I will. So she takes the book back. I finished the revision. We send it off. She read it in one night. We hear from her the next morning. I'm sending this to my colleagues. And I was like, cue internal screaming, probably actually screaming because I'm not cool. And that was really that. So we had a phone call and got to connect. And my favorite line of the book is the very last line. It's a queer romance between two men. And I was once in love with a girl who decided she chose the closet over me. Oh. And she told me at the end, it was never real. Because she needed that to be true. She needed to believe it hadn't been real because of the choices she made to justify it. So the last line of the book is because it was real. And when I asked my editor what her favorite line was, she said, oh, because it was real. And I was like, this is meant to be on so many levels.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I have to ask the question, does the song Good Luck, Babe resonate with you? Isn't that
you just gave me chills because I'm planning to get those lyrics tattooed on my arm.
Really?
Stop. I'm actually planning a Good Luck, Babe tattoo I have some space right here. Uh-huh. That's where I want to put it.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that song is literally, it was basically what I experienced. And I guess I would just, my advice to all the queer folks out there, don't mess with the closeted ones. Oh my gosh. That was a hard one lesson. Oh. But did I write a book to prove that queer love is valid and real? And I did.
Yeah.
I did. I wrote a book to prove. So it was inspired by our love story. And did I write a book to prove it? I did.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of it. And I meant every word.
Good.
So
I'm floored. That's
Thank you.
Amazing. I'm just meeting you, but I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. I want everyone to read it. I want just with, of course, with the current political landscape, with everything going on in the world, it would mean a lot to see this work get support. It would mean a lot at any time. But it would mean a lot now to see it get support. It meant a lot that it got bought right now. Yeah. And to see it getting support. So, I just want everyone to read it, especially if you know me or if you don't know me. It's a good way to get to know me on a really personal level, I guess is what I'm saying. Holy yikes, I can't believe I'm putting something like that out there. But also I can. I think it's important, and I think the older I get, the less scared I am of anything. And the more I want to stand behind what I say and the more I want to share what I've learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm excited. I'm going to read
Thank
it.
you.
I'm very excited for you. This is
I
great.
can't wait to hear what you think.
Yeah. I did want to ask, coming back to the book just real quick.
Let's go.
Who would you recommend this book for?
Of course, anyone who's an avid hiker, outdoors people. I think that even if you're not ordinarily a reader, I think the material is interesting enough to keep you hooked. I would say that because of his Tolkien-esque, beautiful descriptions of nature, it leans literary. So if that buzzword, if literary lights you up, definitely check it out.
Okay.
Yeah. But I would say for any nature lover, any animal lover, any outdoorsman, hiker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking a little bit of my mom is very into watching YouTubes of people doing, like living out in Alaska and things like that.
So this is me, except that there's this, I'm going to shamelessly, I like to watch these people who do through hiking.
Okay.
Have you heard that term?
Mm-mm.
So, for instance, they hiked the entire Pacific Crest Trail.
Oh, cool.
They've done the Continental Divide. They kayaked some incredible distance. I think from Canada down through the U.S.
Wow.
Maybe it was the reverse of that. Anyway, they're amazing. I love watching through hiking.
Okay.
It's like it's a distance hike, so you're outside for 3 or 4 months. Obviously, most people can't do that because we have jobs.
Yeah.
But also people will do it for like shorter or for special planned trips. My latest fantasy is to do a through hike with my daughter when she's, say, a teen or old enough to do that safely.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be like in peak shape and train for it with her and do that. I think it'd be really cool. To sleep outside and for an extended period of time. I'm fascinated by these things. So yeah, so for people who love YouTube about living out in nature, I think you'd find something. I would say people who love wolves. If you're passionate about wolves or dogs, you could find something in this book. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a love story in it if you enjoy a little bit of romance.
I do.
This book has everything. So.
Thank you so much for introducing it to me. Like I said at the beginning, this is my first foray into it. But anyway.
I've been waiting to hear what you think.
Yes, I'm excited to get to it. But thanks so much for joining me. Having this cocktail.
Thank you for the delicious cocktails and all of the fun book chat that got like so personal and so all over the place. Just how I like it.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. And
thank you.
Thank you for spending some time with me and my guest for an episode of Drinks in the Library. For more information about the show, you can find us on Instagram at Drinks in the Library, on the World Wide Web, drinksinthelibrary.com, or shoot me an email at drinkspod@gmail.com. Until next time, cheers.